All right, let's get right into it. We're going to tackle a huge question in the world of Agile today. Why do so many companies feel, well, stuck? They're doing all the right things, the sprints, the stand-ups, the retrospectives, but the big business results just aren't showing up. The secret might be in a really fundamental shift, moving from thinking about projects to thinking about products. Let's break down what that actually means.
So let's start with a question that I'm willing to bet many of you have asked yourselves. After all the money spent on transformations, all the training, all those sprints, why does Agile still feel so slow? Why does it feel like you're just running faster and faster on a treadmill, doing a ton of work, but not really going anywhere new? It's a super common frustration, and it points to a much deeper problem.
And the answer, most of the time, is that your organization is caught in something called the project trap. This is a classic state where you're using Agile methods at the team level, sure, but the entire system around those teams, how work gets funded, how it's planned, how it's measured, is all still stuck in a traditional project model. It's kind of like you've dropped a high-performance engine into a car that still has square wheels. It's just not going to work. So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we're going to really dig into the project trap. Then we'll talk about the crucial product mindset shift that you need to make to get out of it. After that, we'll introduce a new operating model to help structure your organization for this new way of working. And finally, we'll cover how you make this whole shift stick by, actually measuring what matters.
Okay, so let's dive into section 1, the project trap. This is for all those companies stuck in a pattern you might have heard of called Water-Scrum-Fall. You've got these agile teams in the middle doing their sprints, that's the Scrum part. But they're completely sandwiched between a giant upfront waterfall-style planning phase and then a long sequential integration and release phase at the end. You get this illusion of agility, right? But what you really have is agility in a cage.
And I bet some of these symptoms are going to sound painfully familiar. You've got business and tech living in their own separate worlds. Simple decisions get stuck in endless layers of management. The whole culture becomes allergic to risk, so avoiding failure becomes way more important than actually learning or adding value. And this is the big one. Everyone gets hyper-focused on outputs, just shipping features, instead of outcomes, which is the actual value you're creating. Success just means being on time and on budget, whether the thing you built was useful or not.
And that leads us right to the heart of the solution, the product mindset shift. Getting out of the trap isn't about some new tool or process. No, it's a deep, fundamental change in how we think about work, about value, and about success. It's all about shifting our entire focus from a world of outputs to a world of outcomes.
There's this fantastic story from NASA that just nails this difference. Back in 2014, NASA gave out contracts for human spaceflight to two very different companies. You had Boeing, the established giant, and then you had SpaceX, the scrappy newcomer. But here's the key detail. The contracts weren't about building a specific list of things. They were fixed-price deals based on achieving clear outcomes, like successfully dock with the space station. And listen to this quote from NASA's former deputy administrator, because it says it all. Boeing, which ran on a very traditional cost-plus project model, really struggled. But SpaceX, with a culture built for rapid learning and a laser focus on the outcome, they thrived. It wasn't about who had better engineers. It was about who had the better operating model. It was a completely different mindset.
Okay, this chart right here, this is where the rubber meets the road. Just look at the contrast. In a project-centric world, you're focused on delivering an output. Success is measured by the iron triangle: time, scope, and cost. Did we deliver the thing we planned to? But in a product-centric world, you're focused on customer outcomes. Success is measured by the value you deliver. Did we actually solve the customer's problem? And that changes everything else. You go from temporary teams that get broken up to stable, dedicated teams that own a product for its entire life.
Right, so if that's the mindset shift we need, how do you actually do it across a whole organization? You can't just send out a memo that says, think differently. You need a new structure, a whole new system. And this is where we introduce the Agile Product Operating Model, or APOM for short.
Now, it's really important to get this. APOM isn't some rigid framework you just buy off the shelf and install. You should think of it more like a guide, a set of core principles that helps you design your own product-centric operating model. The goal is not to implement APOM. The goal is to use APOM to build your model, a system that's perfectly tailored to your company, your context, and your goals.
The whole thing is built around 4 core areas that all have to work together. First, you've got strategy. That's your why. Then you have people. That's the who and the culture they operate in. Third is structure.
These are the rules and tools that help them succeed. And finally, the value cycle, which is the how of actually discovering, delivering, and running the product. So, think about how these pieces fit together. Your strategy gives everyone a North Star. It connects their daily work back to the big picture. People is about creating these empowered, cross-functional teams that can actually act on that strategy, not just temporary pools of resources. Then the structure provides the guardrails, things like governance, compliance, even how you buy things, but designed to support agility, not to kill it. And finally, the value cycle is where it all happens, integrating the actual work of building and running the product.
Okay, let's talk about the final piece of the puzzle. And honestly, this might be the most important one. Evidence. How do you actually know if this massive shift you're making is working? Well, the answer is simple. You have to start measuring what truly matters.
See, in the old project world, you kind of wait until the end to see if you succeeded. In a product world, you have to measure value continuously. That's why the entire APOM approach is built on empiricism, this idea that you gain knowledge from experience and you make decisions based on real evidence. You can't just hope you're creating value. You have to prove it. And the framework for doing that is called evidence-based management, or EBM.
So EBM gives us these 4 key lenses to look through. First, current value asks, how happy are our customers right now? But then, unrealized value asks the opposite. What's the potential out there that we haven't captured yet? These two create this really healthy tension. And to close that gap, we need to look at our engine. Time to market measures how fast we are, and ability to innovate measures our quality and our health. When you balance all 4 of these, you stop asking, are we on schedule? And you start asking the right question, are we making the best possible investment right now to maximize value?
And you know, this kind of shift, it absolutely demands a huge change from leadership. The whole role of a leader has to transform. They have to move from being managers of tasks and people who just track outputs to being true enablers. Their job becomes setting clear strategic goals, getting all the roadblocks out of their team's way, and then empowering those teams to figure out the best way to hit those goals. It's a huge move from command and control to trust and empower.
So look, when you boil it all down, this whole journey from projects to products, it's about one thing. It's about moving your organization's entire focus away from being a feature factory that just churns out outputs and toward becoming a true value engine that creates real, measurable outcomes for your customers and for your business. And that really leaves us with one last big question that I want you to take back with you. Take a really hard, honest look at your organization, at the structure, at how you fund things, the culture, the metrics you use. Are you truly organized to create valuable outcomes? Or are you still stuck in the trap of just delivering outputs? The answer to that question will tell you exactly where your journey needs to begin.